Hi, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen, and we're so glad that you're here joining us for our biweekly podcast edition. This week we have Danae on. She is an owner of a mobile notary service here in the Orlando area, and she is going to share some meaningful tips about notary, how she changes people's lives with performing notary at their last moments of life, possibly, and how important it is to ensure that your documents are properly notarized. And she's a young woman, and I was really impressed with her demeanor. She was calm, she was very professional, very put together, and very impressive at her young age. I have to point that out. Also, this is leading up to our upcoming series of podcasts that we have with a woman here in Florida who was a victim, as she alleges, of land title fraud and deed fraud. It's a huge investigation going on, and I feel like it's a great moment right now to talk about notary and how it's important that documents are notarized correctly and legally. So, meaning the notary has to either know the person or see an ID or some form that they can account for who they're seeing. So, it's important. We have to make sure that things are done correctly. And as we lead up to our next coming series with a huge investigation, which is going to really turn your teeth. So please like and share and subscribe and reach out to Danae if you need any mobile notary in the Orlando or Central Florida area. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Hi, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen, and we're so glad that you're joining us today. Today we have Danae. She's going to talk to us about being a mobile notary and what that means and what she does. So I'm so glad to have her here.
Hi.
Hi, Danae. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
I know it's so good to meet you finally.
I know. I know. I've been dealing with your dad for like years, a long time. So when he told me you were doing mobile notary, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I wish I was near you because I have a couple documents I need notarized.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm a notary. However, I don't really utilize it. I just do it like in case somebody comes in my office, so it's like there. But I
Yeah.
obviously can't notarize my own stuff and I don't notarize mobily or do loan docs or like anything like that.
Yeah, it's always hard because if you're a notary and you can't do your own stuff, you got to find other people and
And you
yeah.
can't really do like somebody who's like related to you too, like
Yeah.
yeah, because hello, like it can be a friend or something, but not like your family member, I don't think. So,
It's funny because before I even knew like the rules about a notary, my dad was like, "Oh, you should become a notary to like help me stamp stuff." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And then I'm like going through the schooling and I was like, actually, Dad, I am unable to notarize for you because you are family." And he's like, "Oh." And then we just like decided like, okay, well, why don't we just turn this certification into something like more than just like a certification? You can turn into a business. And then that's kind of how that started. So I always thought that was funny.
it's funny because a lot of people don't know. They're like, my dad said the same thing. Oh, I can notarize for you because our last names aren't the same. And I'm like, no, I mean, like technically you could do it, but it's not
Yeah.
really like legal and it's not like ethical. So I'm like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I always try to stay away from like the non-ethical things because like, some things there's like you can understand where they're coming from, but you just want to protect yourself at all cost.
Yeah, you could be like questionable. And if it's like a gray area, you're like, no, don't do
Right.
it.
Agreed.
So that's how you got into mobile notary was, with your dad?
Yeah, like, and well, really, I've been working 9 to 5 corporate jobs for a while after I graduated college. And I just really wanted to kind of start making income and having a career in not a like traditional sense. And when me and my dad spoke about like him kind of like joking around about like me notarized for him, and I was like, I don't mind taking the school and I don't mind having, because I was certified as a pharmacy technician. So I was like, I don't mind having another certificate under my belt. And I kind of like looked into it and I went on Google and saw people like make businesses out of it. And I was like, well, I feel like this is a really like good kind of transition to what I wanted and not like working a 9 to 5 anymore and just like growing a business. So it definitely started from my dad. And then like I had like talks with him because he's a really good businessman about how to like grow this into like more of like clients based instead of just kind of like friends, like and not really using it to like the fullest extent that I could, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So how can you grow and get it so it's not just like every now and then or if somebody needs something.
Yeah.
So, are you on like lists and like where people can call you and reach out and offer you jobs to do their notary signings?
Yeah, so funny enough, so we have a website and it's been growing, which is amazing. And some title companies have reached out, especially ones like out of state of clients who are in like Florida, more so Orlando area, Central Florida. And they'll reach out to us and be like, hey, like, can you please like help me out and do this notary? And the title company kind of uses our services for helping out their client. And like that's been great as well. So it's like not only like individuals in Central Florida, it's also title companies who've been reaching out to us as well, and some attorneys, but they're mainly through the title companies as well. So,
Nice. And do you know, like most people probably don't understand what a notary does. Because I've had people who want me to, notarize something and they bring their documents and start like telling me what it is and what they're doing with the deal. And I'm like, I just need to see your IDs and make
yeah,
sure that it's you.
yeah.
And so I think they have don't you feel like they have, this conception that like we're like giving them legal advice?
Yes, there's definitely a misconception with like notaries. Because you're like a court appointed person that is like legalizing val or valid or validating, sorry, I should say, the person's identification. And I just think because the documents can be very um serious, lack of a better word, like power of attorneys and wills, I think like the pressure of them also just trying to make sure everything's like all the I's and T's are crossed and dotted. They just see like a court appointed person walk in and they think like, oh, all my questions can be answered. And it's really hard to be that person to turn them down. So I will like always kind of like initiate that idea like, hey, please just have your ID with you. That's really what I'm here for, just to make sure like your name and your identity is correct while we sign this document. I like to kind of preface why I'm there. And even if they ask, I always say, hey, just definitely speak to an attorney. Like that is my best legal advice anytime they ask me a question, because I
Mhm.
don't ever want to, you know, misconstrued or like misinform someone when reality they could have just spoke with someone that actually has that legal advice to give.
Exactly. It's there. That's not our job.
Yeah,
To give them that. Have you ever had somebody bring you like an ID that you didn't think was like legit, that wasn't real?
honestly, no, which is like so great because there's only been the certain times where if I had to validate like visas, where it's been hard, but they'll bring their passport. So that makes me feel a lot better. Like
Mhm.
they'll have like two sources of identification. Um, but because I'm in like Central Florida and I've lived here for so long, I kind of know what like a Florida ID looks like. So I haven't had that situation, and I hope I don't, where I see something and I'm like, oh, I don't know. And also too, even taking the school and like just having to be like, this is more like self-employed, you don't really like have someone teaching you the ways of going. It's hard to even know what like a fake ID looks like. It's
Right.
so I I always like, even if I'm unsure, I'll always say, hey, do you have a second? form of identification. I want to verify this name is on the same as this name. I even had to use someone's birth certificate once.
Just good. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're good to ask for extra stuff because sometimes we're like, I guess it's true. I guess
Yeah,
it's you. I
Yeah.
know. And even if they have like an old license like pictured, you know what I mean? People can change. They could change like their hair. They could lose a lot of weight, gain a lot of weight, like,
Yeah.
and things could happen.
It's funny.
Nice.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Thank you.
I was gonna say it's funny because I was actually gonna bring that up. But like even being I was a cashier at a pharmacy for a while and then a pharmacy technician, and they always have to give you their ID for certain medications. And I
Mhm.
even had to experience that there. And I feel like because I kind of had that experience prior where I would hesitate, like, hey, this doesn't really look like you. And they're like, well, I've been taking weight loss medication. That's why this doesn't look like me. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like even having that experience, when I started the notary business, it's definitely still a shock at times because you're like, is this you for sure? But then because it's like I know that these instances happen and really it's matching and making sure that this is who they say they are and their name is who we're validating, that definitely reassures me. And like I said, if I'm ever in a dead end, I always ask for a second ID.
Good information. And then how long have you been doing this for as a mobile notary?
Yeah, so it's almost been a year. I started April of 2025. So because of the new year, we're in January. It's almost been a year. And I did start this right after I got certified for that technician license that I mentioned. So I don't do that anymore, but that's kind of where that transition came from.
Nice. Okay. And do you have another job that you do in addition to this, or is this your full time?
Um, I do have another job, but this is my full time, if that makes sense. I try to make sure that any calls that are ringing or anyone that needs any, even same day, same time call situation, I try to make sure that's my priority.
Nice. So you're available all the time. So I, a typical day, what is that like for you?
Yeah, so I work another 9 to 5. And so I usually work that through Monday and Fridays. And then as the notary business, we are open 24/7. And typically people actually don't really call during the day, probably because, everyone's working as well or have a lot of stuff going on. So it's really convenient that even we are open 24/7, like the weekends, even Sundays, I'll get a lot of calls on Sundays and people are so grateful because they know Sundays are typically the days where not a lot of businesses are open. So I just try to be as convenient as possible with my schedule, especially for the notaries being, you get calls in different times and different days. You never know when you'll get a client.
Exactly. And then how far, when you're meeting somebody, is it typically that you go to meet them or do you guys meet someplace else?
Yeah, so it really depends on, especially on the client's wishes. I try to be as I think, sorry, not I think, I know my company is more based off convenience for the other person. So if they want me to meet them at a hospital, a nursing facility, their own address, I am more than happy to do so. I know my furthest commute was maybe 45 minutes. But we do charge for travel. So of course, if they're comfortable with that, then we are as well. And yeah, so and then as well, we do have I have a little at-home office if they are in the area and hey, and they're like, hey, I'm by the address on Google. Can I stop by? We also do it like that as well. Or we meet places. So it's all of the above.
All the above. And so you said when you go to the hospital, so I'm assuming, are you doing like wills and like things like that for
Yes.
people? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of sad when you think about that. Maybe they have to get something in order, but then you also think you're doing like a service for them, so that's
Yeah.
helpful. Mm-hmm.
That was the perfect way of explaining it. Like, I always had this, and this is just like a personal, no one really likes hospitals. So it's always hard to walk in there knowing that, they need your services for a very good reason. And I just try to make the situation as less pressure as possible. I give them my services, try to just make it a more peaceful, joyful experience. And then when we part our ways, and then that's that. But yeah, it's hard. It's sad, but I just, like you said, I think of it as helping them. And, it is helping them because at the end of the day, they feel very thankful and I feel very joyful that anything I could have done in their moments of blast is peaceful, and joyful.
Yeah. Have you ever gone someplace and you felt like unsafe or like just like had like a weird vibe about it?
I can't think of anything like specific, but just being like a young woman, it's always like scary,
Yeah.
Um, it's hard to like just kind of like show up anywhere and just offer your services. I do know like when um like it can be I like show up and it's like a larger man and then they see a young girl, they're always shocked. They're like, "Oh, like I'm dealing with you." I'm like, "Yeah, hi." It's like never like I'm scared, but it's always like a shock on both parts. But yeah, I try not to let that like angst of being a young woman kind of like um, stop me from running a business, but it's definitely always in the back of my mind for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And so people normally pull you up like on your website or, probably Google. So that's how they find you.
Yeah, typically it's through Google or there has been some times where we get like referrals from other clients, which is actually like always puts a smile on my face. There's like one nursing facility called us and they're like, "Hey, like someone recommended you guys. Can you please stop by?" And that's always nice too. But I do see that like mainly it is through Google, which is also great because I worked really hard on the website.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like you said, most people work during the day. So if they need something notarized, a lot of times, like it's hard to find, like it's hard to get the time to get away. And then if you've got to go to the bank or like a store or someplace that has that notary, by the time you're off of work and able to get there, they're closed. So the
Yes.
weekend. So yeah. So if you can find somebody who can do it for you on the weekends or after, working hours. It just makes it convenient. And then so that's how I could see if you say 24/7. Yeah, people need services. And if they work nights and weekends or whatever, they just need things at all different times of the day. And we
Yeah.
always forget about that. Like when you see stores open 24/7, because we forget, like the hospitals are 24/7, nursing homes are 24/7 because people work different hours. They work through the night when other people are not working. So it
Yeah.
has to be convenient for them. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And what advice would you give somebody who's trying to start this business? Because I see people posting this on Facebook that they're starting this mobile notary business. And, because I think they think it's easy, but really, I don't think anything is easy that you're starting on your own. So, what's something that you could share with somebody who may be wanting to do this in another state, of course, not in the Orlando area? To take your business away, but to share with them about what they're getting into and what they, should expect.
Yeah, so, I will say like any business, especially at the beginning, you can't expect to make profit right away, and you also can't expect like everything to kind of just fall in order and land in your lap. It's still hard work. You still have to like think outside the box. When I started this business right after I got my certification, like I said, I didn't just get it to be certified. I wanted to make this like a source of income. I wanted this to be a business where it can help people. And doing that is through marketing, being professional, having trust with your clients. I will say marketing is a very important part. Like I said, you won't make profit in the beginning. I will admit I did have to start off paying for like Google marketing to at least like have ads and show that, hey, like there's a new notary business in Central Florida. Um, and I actually went to a lot of places, hand delivered my cards. And I did get calls starting in, and then when I would speak to them, I would always hand them my cards. That's where the referrals come in. So just little things like that. You always want to like make sure you're thinking outside the box when it comes to starting a business, how you can market it, how you can build yourself as a brand. You know, I've always wanted to be more than just a notary. I wanted to be a businesswoman. I want to be a brand. I want to make a name for myself. So in regards to doing so, you just have to like strive for that. If you just start being a notary and you just want to be certified and like do it for your friends, you will definitely be able to have some calls here and there, but you won't have that grand marketing that a lot of other businesses have. Making a website is very important as well,
Mhm.
and reviews are important too. You don't want to pressure anybody, but I would say that sending them out, just being like, hey, if you guys have anything you want to say, because you just want to make sure Google is recognizing your company as a growing business and that they'll put ads out for you without you having to pay for them. And I did eventually get there. And I am eventually starting to make profit now, which is always nice.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so it's like you just kind of have to just really market yourself as a person as well. This is a face-to-face person interaction. It's like
Yeah.
almost like I don't know what the best, I don't want to say like a customer service job, but like, it's
Yeah, but it's like a relationship business because you're dealing
yes,
face to face with people with situations that are maybe sensitive. They may be time sensitive. They're involving money or, assets in most cases, or some type of property or something important. So it's about
yeah,
building trust and relationships, I would say, with that for
yes,
sure.
100%.
And I know, have you ever gotten into like the remote online notary stuff?
Not yet, but I have been looking into it. So that's another thing, like I was gonna say, even expanding it, like just like I've been looking into expanding my notary business, like what other services can I provide while they're here, or if they ever like, or hey, like I need this done really quick, are you able to help me with this? It's kind of just like expanding that and being able to
Yeah.
provide more. So yeah, I've
Because I
definitely,
know that's been something that's like growing, but still it's not like everything can be done that way, you know?
yeah,
So I think there's still things that have to be signed with paper and pen in
yeah,
these days. And I don't think some of that stuff will like ever change. I think a lot of people think like AI and stuff will take over certain stuff, but there's certain things that like a computer or like a robot cannot do. So they're
yeah.
still going to need human flesh, doing things. So.
Yeah, I agree.
And I say with your young age, because I know you're very young, and I have to say, I'm very impressed by you. You're very well spoken, very put together for somebody your age. And you remind me of myself when I was 21, because that's when I started in my career. And I think now it's unusual for young people in that age to be so like driven and so like, put together, because like things have changed so much in our society. So I will tell that. And I interviewed another girl a couple weeks back who is 21 as well. She's helping people build their brand and build their resumes. And so like it's like you two could get together and be like a great powerhouse, because she's in Polk County area. But it's just like to see people who have like these good mindsets. So how would you say like doing this has helped you like focus yourself and change your mindset in ways that maybe your peers aren't doing yet?
Yeah. Um, honestly, I feel like this might be the question, or sorry, the answer everyone's like looking for, but I've always had like really strong mindsets around me, and that definitely like made this um not really like something hard to strive for because I've always just been strong-minded. I've always wanted to be my own businesswoman. And, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So it's just one of those things, like even my friends who maybe are not in the same place as me, they have such strong mindsets in their own ways where it actually inspires me to still work as hard as I do. I will say the best thing about being in like having a strong mindset and being in an industry that has a lot of business people around you or like people who want to be self-employed, you're always going to be around similarities of like traits and how people think and you'll learn stuff from them. So you do want to be around people who actually have the similar like goals and mindsets as you. And thankfully, I've always been around that. So I know that's not like the answer people probably want to hear, but I think that um I've always thought having friends, and even if it's not your family, having friends around you, like if you are interested in creative stuff, being an entrepreneur, music, anything like that, it's always nice to have your own community, and that makes it stronger on your own too.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's true. That's right. And anybody, whatever you say is what everybody wants to hear because everybody has like their own opinions. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we get caught up in like, you're supposed to say this, you're supposed to say that. No, you're supposed to say what you feel and what's like right for you in your life. So that's good.
Yeah.
Where do you see your notary business growing in the next couple of years?
Yeah. So I'm hoping in the next couple of years, it's like more of it's grown outside of Central Florida, and I've also done like expanded it with the more services that we like just spoke about, and hopefully like make it and like transition into being like my full time, not having two jobs anymore, and it's just like busy enough to the point where I can like, make it more of a storefront and like have people always want to like come and it's like and starting to actually be something where people don't have to go to the banks or UPS anymore. They can just come to this mobile notary or my office. So I wouldn't mind just like in a few years like making this like my main, like it's still my priority, but my main priority and like making it as busy as it can, just so I can transition into it as a full time for sure.
And your main source of your income so your business
Yeah.
can grow. And then, yeah, that's awesome. Have you ever done a wedding or a divorce?
Not, oh, well, I have done a divorce. I have done, I wouldn't say a wedding, but there's a couple who got like, spiritually married in their culture, but then legally they wanted to get like married by the court. And I was like, yeah, of course. So it was just like a normal notary document. It wasn't anything fancy. Uh,
Signing their license, like their, marriage
Marriage
license, and you
license.
sign, yeah,
Yeah, like
something.
stuff like that, their marriage license. But it was still really cute. Like they seemed really happy. But I haven't like done a wedding yet. I want to really bad. I'm like very excited if someone like calls me for that to ordain someone. Um,
Hmm.
but for divorces, I have done that. We do like all documents, but yeah, no one's called us for a wedding yet.
Well, that'll be fun. So we'll have to get it promoted to get you a wedding because wedding season is like coming up. I think the big wedding season starts like February to like June or something here.
Yeah.
So a funny story. I had a girl come to me one time. It was a girl that I knew, and she asked, could she come by my office and I can notarize her something. This was like 15 year plus years ago.
Yeah.
So I notarized it, and it was her marriage license. The guy came, and then like a couple years later, she came and he made to notarize something, and it was the divorce. They
Oh
were getting
no.
a divorce, and I was like, this is not a good sign. But yeah, she ended up getting married like two other times. And yeah, it was so funny. I would like never forget that in my life. I was like, it wasn't a good, I guess it wasn't a good experience, but it had nothing to do with me, but it was funny.
Yeah.
Um, so for your business, do you have set fees that you charge, or is it like per page, or what you, or because I know you said you charge if you have to drive farther. So how
Yeah.
does it actually work with like your fee schedule?
Yeah, so we do it typically like per like stamp, and it's $10 a page.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then so yeah, so it's like per page or per stamp, I should say. And then of course, like depending how far the travel is, that's how we charge for that as well.
Got it. And then it would be like per mile or something. Like it has to be worth it. If you're driving $45, 45 miles, I'm sorry, or minutes
No,
for $10, it wouldn't be worth it. Like,
no, yeah.
yeah, it's got to be worth it for you. Well, that makes total sense. And then I know you said you have a website. What is the website?
Yeah, so it's gonna be Central Florida Notary Services.
Mhm.
And you just type that in and then the website pops up and then it's gonna just be like .com.
.com.
Yeah.
And are you also on social medias at all?
Not yet. I'm considering maybe starting one. But right now, the website has been just doing so well that I don't feel like the need to start like the social media page. But like I said, you want to like brand your marketing. So I definitely have been thinking about it.
Yeah, because the other girl that I interviewed, like around your same age, she has a website, but she didn't have social medias. And so she said it was working great. And she actually told me she got off social media like all together. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that's interesting. I feel like, because I think it can be distracting in a sense, but I think
Yes.
depending on what you're using it for, like if you were doing like education about it, like about, forms, ID,
Yeah.
things like that, and like teaching people about safety things like that, that would be good. Like it's education because there's a lot of stuff that people don't know.
Yeah.
Even people that have the notary stamp, we don't know how complicated it can be. And especially if you're doing like loan signings, how many pages they have in there and how complicated it is.
Yeah, especially like starting off, it was like hard to kind of like wrap your head around everything because you're like just starting off with all different documents, but eventually you kind of get a grasp and um like it's easier over time where you're like understanding what they're asking for of you and what you need to bring and what services you need to provide and things like that.
And also, like you said, you're going like into this without like you do the online training and it's a course and you get your certification and your stamp and everything, but you don't really have, there's not like you can talk to an instructor. I'm sure you can find somebody and speak to them, but you don't really have like a boss that you could run something by and say, oh, so it's like you're practicing like on your own. So you just have to use like your own judgment. And sometimes it's like difficult, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be
Yeah.
overwhelming
It
being
can.
in any business like by yourself. If you're having to like just trust yourself and like other people are looking at you, you're like, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's just the
Yeah.
way it goes in any business. But
A
this was
lot
all
of them.
super informative. How can we help you? I know you said your reviews, so we can obviously share your website.
Yeah.
Um, Add your business to like my website for people who need notary um, services outside of like my office because obviously I can't leave, but they could call you. And online, can they make an appointment or do they call you or
Yeah.
text?
Yeah, great question. So actually, Colleen, so my apologies. The website, so our website will be Central Florida Notary Express.com.
Express? Okay.
Yes. And on there, you'll be able to access, like you can book appointments online, you can
Hmm.
email us and give us a call.
Right. Okay, so it's super convenient. And then how much lead time do you normally need for like if they called you now? I mean, obviously probably 30 minutes. Most places is like 30 minutes, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
typically, like, especially, like, it really depends. Like, sometimes people will call me and be like, hey, I'm like 10 minutes away. Are you available? And I'm like, yeah, I'm available. Let's do it. Um, but I will say, like, in those, like, very, like, more casual, more that usually happen more often. Situation, yes, 30 minutes, just kind of to give us a heads up is usually better.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your time. I'm going to stop the recording, but it was so informative, and I hope this was helpful for you and you can get some leads from it. And then obviously, it's educating other people about how to do this for themselves. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, of course, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I don't know if I kind of misspoke. I think when I was like describing that like we made profit, we haven't made profit yet. I was trying to say eventually we'll make profit.
Yes.
Um, yeah, because like I just started in April, like opening your own business, not even a year in, like no one's gonna be able to start to
No
make.
one's going to. It takes time. It
Yeah,
takes
it
like
takes time.
2 years or so to make
Yes.
money in any business because there's so much like overhead and stuff. And especially on this, it's what you're doing. So
Yeah.
obviously it's, side hustle for now, but I know it'll be bigger for you and it'll become a big, your little empire.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for listening and joining us on our podcast episode that's posted bi-weekly. Again, we would love if you would like and share and subscribe to our podcast. It means the world to us and it helps our guests so much. Remember, if you would like to join us, you can do so at any time. We record in person or on Zoom anywhere in the world. Also, our podcast is produced by Sean Spazzato and it's hosted by me, Miss Colleen Pacheco. Please like and share our Facebook pages, which is Colleen Pacheco and Secured Insurance Group. Our Instagram is Colleen Insurance Lady 22, and our cover art is edited by Norma Pacheco. We appreciate you so much, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us.